Operation Sea Spray was a secret 1950 U.S. military biological warfare experiment that involved spraying large clouds of bacteria over the entire population of San Francisco, California. Conducted from September 20 to September 27, 1950, the operation aimed to test the vulnerability of a major coastal city and its microclimate to a covert biological weapon attack. It remains one of the largest and most controversial open-air human experiments conducted by the United States government on its own citizens without their knowledge or consent. The experiment mechanism: the U.S. Navy used a minesweeper ship floating just off the coast near the Golden Gate Bridge. The method: armed with giant hoses, the military spent 6 days spraying a massive bacterial mist directly into the wind. San Francisco's heavy, iconic fog layers helped mask and carry the particles inland. The agents: they released 2 bacterial strains believed at the time to be completely benign: Serratia marcescens, chosen for its unique ability to produce a bright, blood-red pigment, allowing researchers to track its spread on petri dishes. Bacillus globigii, used to simulate robust spore-forming pathogens like anthrax. The spread: the experiment was highly successful from a logistical standpoint. Monitoring at 43 local tracking stations proved that all 800,000 residents inhaled millions of bacterial particles as the cloud contaminated roughly 48 square miles of the heavily populated Bay Area. Health consequences and fatalities: the military initially assumed the microbes were harmless, so they did not monitor public health impacts. However, Serratia marcescens is actually an opportunistic pathogen. The outbreak: in the weeks following the spray, Stanford Hospital recorded a sudden, unprecedented spike in severe urinary and respiratory tract infections. The casualty: an elderly man named Edward Nevin was recovering from a routine prostate surgery when the bacteria spread to his heart, causing a fatal case of endocarditis. 10 other patients became seriously ill during the localized outbreak. Exposure and legal battles: the operation remained heavily classified for nearly 3 decades. The unveiling: in 1977, details of the operation were finally made public during U.S. Senate hearings. The investigation revealed that the military had conducted 239 open-air biological tests across the nation between 1949 and 1969, including mock germ attacks on subways in New York and Chicago. The lawsuit: in 1981, Edward Nevin's grandson, a trial lawyer, filed a lawsuit against the federal government for gross negligence and wrongful death. A federal judge ultimately dismissed the lawsuit, ruling that the government had sovereign immunity because the test fell under the military's discretionary function during the peak of the Cold War. The overarching domestic biological testing program was overseen by the U.S. Army Chemical Corps out of Camp Detrick, now Fort Detrick, while Operation Sea Spray itself was executed locally by the U.S. Navy. Because the operation was a highly classified, multi-agency initiative, responsibility was shared across several specific entities and leaders. The program architect Dr. Ira Baldwin, he was the wartime scientific director of Camp Detrick. In 1948, he authored a critical report warning that major American cities were highly vulnerable to a covert germ warfare attack. His findings directly prompted the military to establish a dedicated division to test these vulnerabilities on the public. The directing agency, the Special Operations Division, SOD, at Camp Detrick, this specialized, ultra-secret branch within the Army Chemical Corps was created explicitly to organize and oversee open-air simulation tests in American cities. The operational hand: the U.S. Navy, while the Army Chemical Corps designed the program and provided the biological stimulants, the Navy supplied the physical ships, equipment, and personnel to execute the secret 6-day spraying window off the coast of California.